The Free Thinker Show. Ignite your mind, challenge the norm.
All right, so today we're diving deep into the Amazon, not literally, of course.
Right, not literally.
We've got these incredible stories, people who've gone through ayahuasca ceremonies firsthand.
Yeah, and you know what's really striking is how these accounts, they go way beyond just the, typical healing narrative.
It's not just a spa day.
No, not at all. We're talking about people confronting, like, really deep-seated anxieties, past traumas.
Right, the heavy stuff.
Yeah, even physical conditions like Parkinson's disease. It's pretty amazing.
It really makes you wonder, what is it about ayahuasca that allows for that kind of, deep inner work?
Well, it seems to act as this catalyst, like it helps people break through those barriers that are holding them back on all these different levels.
One story that really stuck with me, they described their experience as a wolf's journey.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one. They talked about, shedding layers of armor,
Yeah.
almost like peeling back an onion until they could see the world through the eyes of a wolf. It really makes you think, right? What metaphorical layers are we all carrying around?
For sure. It's like we all have our own inner beasts to confront. And you know what's interesting? That whole inner beast thing, it made me think about another recurring theme, this sense of a feminine energy or presence associated with ayahuasca.
Right. And it wasn't just a couple of people mentioning it either. It seemed to come up again and again, this idea of a feminine presence, even without anyone prompting it.
Almost like it's woven into the experience itself.
Yeah, exactly. It really makes you wonder about the nature of that energy, what significance it holds.
And the thing is, this isn't just some fleeting high.
Oh, definitely not.
One person even wrote in, get this, 18 years after their ceremony, talking about how much it had impacted their life.
Wow, 18 years. That's incredible.
Yeah, it really speaks to the potential for lasting change.
Absolutely. It's not just a weekend retreat. It's like this catalyst for ongoing growth and transformation. But of course, with such powerful potential comes responsibility.
Right. It's not something to be taken lightly.
Exactly. And the accounts are very clear about that, like the importance of finding a truly experienced and trustworthy practitioner.
Absolutely. Doing your research.
Yeah, trusting your gut, prioritizing safety above all else, because there are, unfortunately, people out there who might try to take advantage.
That's true with, I think, anything powerful.
Exactly. It's like anything powerful, you need to know how to handle it with care and respect.
And that respect goes beyond just the medicine itself, right? It's about the entire tradition, the indigenous culture that has been stewarding it for centuries.
Precisely. There's this strong message about approaching this with humility, honoring the tradition, recognizing that we're guests in this world.
Right. It's their knowledge, their wisdom.
Exactly. So speaking of respecting the process, can we talk about the purging aspect? Because that's a common thread in these stories.
It's definitely a thing.
It is, but it seems to go way beyond just the physical,
Okay, so it's more than just like a physical detox.
Yeah, think of it like a deep cleansing on every level, physically, emotionally, even spiritually. It's about letting go of what's no longer serving you.
Okay, so it's like a symbolic and literal detox. I've got to be honest, though, some people might find that idea a little intense.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart, but think of it this way. Those darker, often hidden parts of ourselves.
Right, the shadow self.
Yeah, exactly. They need attention, too. As one person put it, it's often the most challenging experiences that lead to the most profound healing.
So it's about facing those shadows head on.
Exactly.
But it's important to remember, everyone processes things differently, right? Some people might have really visual experiences. Others might focus on emotional breakthroughs. There's no one-size-fits-all with ayahuasca.
And that's where the guidance of an experienced shaman or curandero becomes so crucial. They can help you navigate your unique journey and make sense of the messages that come up, because it can get pretty wild in there.
Yeah. And speaking of shaman, you hear that word thrown around a lot these days. But the accounts you shared mentioned that even that term is relatively new to the Amazon.
Yeah, it's true. While Westerners have adopted shamanism as a catch-all term, the indigenous communities often have their own very specific language and understanding of these roles and traditions.
So it's important to remember that we're coming into this with a certain cultural lens, and to be mindful of that.
Exactly. And speaking of understanding, one thing that really struck me was this emphasis on reciprocity. It's not just about, taking ayahuasca.
It's not just about what you can get out of it.
Exactly. It's about respecting the knowledge, the people who have carefully preserved it for generations.
Giving back.
Yes, absolutely. And the sources, they really highlight the potential harm of cultural appropriation and exploitation.
Right. It's not just a trend.
No, it's a sacred tradition. It's crucial for anyone seeking ayahuasca to approach it with humility and willingness to learn from these indigenous cultures that have safeguarded this knowledge for so long.
And, there were some cautionary tales in there too, right?
Yeah.
About the potential downsides of ayahuasca becoming more globalized.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. As it becomes more popular, there's a real concern about the sacred becoming commercialized. It's about finding that balance, right?
Yeah, walking that line very carefully.
Absolutely. Ensuring that these traditions are honored, not exploited. Because ultimately, it's not just about personal transformation. It's about cultural preservation. We're talking about a much bigger picture here.
So we've touched on the profound impact ayahuasca can have, but what about the actual experience during a ceremony?
Yes, the nitty-gritty.
What are people feeling in those moments? Because it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to actually be in it.
Right. Well, first of all, it's important to remember that ayahuasca is a powerful psychedelic.
Right. And this is not a walk in the park.
No. So the experiences can be incredibly varied and intense. Some people report vivid hallucinations. Others have profound emotional breakthroughs.
Right. So there's a wide range of experiences.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all.
One thing I noticed, a few people mentioned this sense of interconnectedness, almost like a feeling of oneness with everything. Have you heard about that?
Oh, absolutely. That's a common one. It can be deeply transformative, to say the least.
Yeah, I bet.
People talk about confronting their deepest fears, working through past traumas, and ultimately experiencing a profound sense of healing and self-acceptance, all within that interconnectedness.
It's like ayahuasca helps you peel back those layers, but this time it's emotional armor we're talking about.
Exactly. It seems to break down the walls we build around our hearts, allowing us to experience the full spectrum of human emotion.
What's so amazing is that, this newfound emotional openness, it impacts people's relationships too.
That's right. You're more in tune with yourself, which allows you to connect with others more authentically.
Right. So it's not just this internal journey, it ripples outwards.
It's like a ripple effect of personal transformation,
Yeah.
leading to more fulfilling and authentic relationships.
That's like you're more open, more present.
Exactly. And that's what a lot of the accounts really highlight, this increased empathy, compassion, understanding, and it ripples out into their relationships, which is really cool.
So it's not just an inward journey, it ripples outward into the world.
And that outward ripple, that's where the real work begins for a lot of people.
Because it's not enough to just have the experience, it's about what you do with it afterward, right? How you integrate it.
Exactly. It's about integrating those insights into your everyday life, taking action.
So it's a commitment, not a quick fix.
It really is. It's a commitment to showing up for yourself, facing your shadows, embracing the fullness of who you are.
And speaking of embracing the fullness of who we are, I think we have to talk about this recurring theme of spiritual awakening that comes up in these accounts.
Right, right. And this is where things get really interesting because even for people who didn't consider themselves particularly spiritual,
Right.
they describe these experiences that are just, well, there's this common thread of experiencing something bigger than themselves.
Like they're tapping into something beyond the everyday.
Exactly. It's like ayahuasca removes the filter, and allows people to tap into this deeper part of themselves, even if they don't have the words for it.
And it's not about like converting to a specific religion or anything.
No, not at all. It's not about dogma.
It's about removing those barriers, whatever they might be, that prevent us from experiencing that connection for ourselves.
Exactly. It's not about imposing a belief system, but rather it seems to clear a path for people to explore their own spirituality, however that might manifest for them.
And that's what's so fascinating, right? You have these incredibly diverse individuals, each with their own background, their own beliefs.
Right. Totally different walks of life.
And yet they're describing similar shifts in consciousness.
Exactly. It's like there's this common thread, and it really challenges that Western notion of separation.
The idea that we're all just individuals, separate from each other, separate from nature, separate from something larger.
Right, exactly. And ayahuasca seems to be revealing that interconnectedness, allowing people to experience it firsthand.
And those experiences, from what I'm gathering, they can be pretty profound.
Oh, they can be life-changing. People talk about this renewed sense of purpose, like they finally understand why they're here.
Wow.
a deeper appreciation for life, even a greater sense of connection to something beyond their individual ego, like they're part of something much bigger.
It's like they're tapping into their true nature, their soul, through this process.
And what's interesting is that for many people, this isn't just a one-time thing. It sparks this desire to keep exploring, to live a more meaningful and authentic life.
Yeah, because it's not about just like checking off a box.
No, not at all. It's about integrating those insights into everything you do.
It's about showing up differently in the world.
Exactly. It's about taking those profound experiences and translating them into real, tangible change in your thoughts, your behaviors, your relationships.
It's that ripple effect again.
Exactly.
So we've talked about this potential for spiritual awakening, but what about the people who are drawn to ayahuasca specifically for healing? What kinds of stories are we seeing there?
Well, one of the most common threads is people seeking relief from things like depression, anxiety, PTSD, things that are, really weighing them down.
Yeah, the heavy stuff.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that ayahuasca doesn't just mask the symptoms, it seems to help people get to the root of what's causing the suffering in the first place.
Like unearthing the source of the pain, not just putting a Band-Aid on it. I can see how that would be incredibly powerful.
It can be incredibly powerful, and it goes beyond just like mental and emotional healing too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there are accounts of people with chronic pain, autoimmune disorders, even things like cancer, who have experienced these profound shifts in their physical well-being.
Wow, that's incredible. One thing that struck me when I was reading through these stories was how many people described feeling stuck before their ayahuasca experience.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one. Stuck in negative thought patterns, unhealthy relationships, dead-end jobs, you name it. People feel trapped.
Right, like they're in this rut and they can't get out.
Exactly. And ayahuasca seems to act like this catalyst for breaking free from those patterns,
Yeah.
for stepping into a new way of being.
It's like it shakes things up, helps you to see things from a fresh perspective, which can be really powerful.
And sometimes that fresh perspective is all it takes, It's the key to unlocking this whole new level of healing and growth.
So it can be a really powerful tool for change. It's important to remember, though, that ayahuasca isn't a magic bullet, right?
Right, exactly. And that's crucial to emphasize. It's not a cure-all.
It's not like you just drink it and all your problems disappear.
Exactly. It's not like that. It's a tool, and like any tool, its effectiveness depends on how it's used.
It's about how you approach it, the work you're willing to do.
Precisely. The accounts really stress the importance of setting intentions, doing the inner work, and being open to whatever comes up during the experience. Because sometimes those breakthroughs come from the most unexpected places.
Sometimes it's about facing those parts of ourselves that we'd rather keep hidden.
Exactly. It's about facing those shadows head on.
It's like that saying, the only way out is through.
That's it. And that's where having experienced guides and a supportive environment becomes so crucial.
Absolutely. Having that support system is key.
They can provide this safe and nurturing space for people to navigate those challenging moments, those dark nights of the soul, and emerge from the experience transformed.
Because it can be intense, right? Facing those shadows.
It can be very intense, but ultimately it's about moving through those challenges and coming out stronger on the other side.
As we're talking about this, I keep thinking back to that wolf's journey story. It seems like there's a connection there, this idea of confronting our inner beasts.
Right, those metaphorical beasts.
Whether those beasts are physical ailments, emotional wounds, limiting beliefs, whatever it is that's holding us back.
I see what you mean. It's like ayahuasca helps us to see those aspects of ourselves that we've been avoiding, but not with judgment.
Right, not with shame.
But with compassion, with understanding. It's about recognizing that those parts are a part of us and they deserve to be met with kindness.
And that compassion, that understanding, it seems to extend beyond just ourselves.
Of course, it ripples outward.
There are so many stories about people experiencing this increased empathy and connection with others after their ayahuasca ceremonies.
Absolutely. It's like it opens up this well of compassion, not just for ourselves, but for all beings.
So it's not just about personal healing, it's about contributing to a more compassionate and interconnected world.
Precisely. And that's what's so inspiring about these accounts. They highlight the potential for ayahuasca to be this catalyst for positive change, not just on an individual level, but on a collective level as well.
It's like a ripple effect, but on a global scale.
Yeah.
And speaking of ripples, there's another aspect of ayahuasca that I found really intriguing, and that's this idea of ancestral healing.
Ah, yes. That's a powerful one for sure. Many people report feeling this deep connection to their ancestors during their ayahuasca journeys, almost like they're tapping into this lineage of wisdom and healing that extends far beyond their own lifetime.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like they're receiving guidance and support from generations past.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that this ancestral connection, it seems to go both ways.
So it's not just about receiving, it's about giving back as well.
Exactly. It's about healing. People talk about feeling this sense of responsibility to heal their ancestral lines, to break free from patterns of trauma or suffering that have been passed down through generations.
So it's like you're not just healing yourself, you're healing your family line, past, present, and future. It's like ayahuasca is this thread, connecting you to this vast tapestry of ancestral wisdom.
And that connection, that sense of belonging to something so much bigger than ourselves.
Right, like you're part of something bigger.
It can be incredibly healing, just that feeling.
It's like it gives you a sense of place, a sense of purpose.
Exactly. And it reminds us, that we're not just these isolated individuals.
Right.
We're part of this long line, this lineage, We're connected to all those who came before us, all those who will come after.
And that even in the midst of our own struggles,
Right. Even when we feel alone.
we're not alone.
We're not alone. We carry that resilience, that wisdom of our ancestors, and ayahuasca can help us tap into that.
It's like we have this wellspring of strength and support that we might not even realize is there.
Exactly. It's always been there, just waiting to be discovered.
And once you've tasted that connection, it's like, how can you go back?
Right. It changes you.
It sets you on a new path, one that's more aligned with, like, your true nature.
And that path, it might not always be easy.
Right. There's still work to do.
There's still work to do, exactly. But it's a path of healing. It's a path of growth. It's a path of coming home to yourself.
And isn't that what it's all about in the end?
I think so.
Finding our way back to ourselves, to that place of wholeness and connection.
I think that's beautifully said. And, these stories, these accounts of transformation and healing, they offer a glimpse of what's possible.
Exactly.
When we're willing to do the inner work, when we're willing to face those shadows, to embrace the fullness of who we are.
It's a powerful reminder that healing is possible.
It is possible.
Transformation is possible. And that even in those really dark times,
Right. Even when it seems hopeless.
there's always hope.
There's always hope. And sometimes all it takes is a little nudge,
A little push.
a little push outside our comfort zone to unlock that potential that's always been within us.
So as we kind of wrap things up here, I want to leave our listeners with this. What are those metaphorical wolves that you might need to confront in your own life? What layers of armor might be holding you back from truly experiencing the fullness of who you are?
And maybe, just maybe, these stories have sparked a little something within you.
A little curiosity.
A desire to explore the mysteries of your own heart, to delve a little deeper into those uncharted territories of your own soul.
Because the journey of 1,000 miles, they say, it all starts with a single step.
That's right.
And who knows what incredible transformations might be waiting for you on the other side.